94.9 the city, hottest radio station in the streets. You're rocking out with your favorite big brother, Pizzo Bell, and today, man, I got the ultimate story of perseverance, man. I'm gonna keep it real. My favorite wrestler at a point in time was Stone Cold, but right now it's Jabari Irons because Big Dog, he come from where I come from. He's a teacher, he's a coach, and most importantly, he looks just like me. And I feel like that's important because so many times we grow up and, we learning so many things from people who don't understand our lifestyle or never came from where we came from. And I feel like this guy is the guy that can, influence the future generations and, help our youth realize that it's more than just football, basketball. It's so many other outlets. So without further ado, man, we got Jabari Irons in the building. How you feeling, Vic Dog?
I'm feeling good, man. I appreciate the opportunity bringing me on and letting me get to share my story and my platform.
Yes, sir. We were supposed to have this interview happen so many times, man. So I appreciate you being patient with us. I wanna start it off with your origins in Fort Myers. Is that where you're from?
Yes, sir. Born and raised. So when I was like a kid, of course, just like a lot of people, we grew up in the projects.
Yeah.
But my parents had a vision to get us out of the hood like early on.
Yeah.
So I want to say when I was about like 5, we moved out of the projects and
Nice.
we moved, still like Dunbar area, Fort
Yeah,
Myers.
but a little
And
more comfortable.
You're right, a little bit more comfortable. And as the years went on, we moved to like better Fort Myers, better part of Fort Myers. And then when I was in like 3rd grade, so probably 8 or 9 years old, we moved to Lehigh.
Yeah.
But all of my family was still in Fort Myers.
Yeah.
So it was like I was kind of sheltered, but still around it. Like
What you mean by like sheltered?
Sheltered as far as like my mom, she didn't really want us around like a lot of the like the violence, the day-to-day stuff that you see. But so like we were far enough that it wasn't in my day-to-day life,
Right.
but all my family still lived in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
So anytime I hang out with cousins or grandparents or anything, I would still be in the middle.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of like the best of both worlds.
So wait, what you mean by like best of both worlds as far as like being able to know that there's things going on and not being in the middle of it? Or
Yeah. So what I mean by that is like you're able to, build street smarts without being completely indulged in it to where
like learning from the mistakes of others?
Right. So that's exactly what it is. And then like not only that, but I'm the youngest of 5. So
Yeah.
it's like I was able to kind of maneuver around my friends, family, and my siblings as well. And it's funny because like even growing up, like a lot of my friends, they was from the project just like how we was.
Right.
And like I was one of the youngest, but they would always like kind of look up to me and call me like the hood prophet.
Bro,
And it's like
that kind of like touched me, not to cut you off, because like I was always the youngest in my friend group, and like even though it was so much trouble around us, the fact that I didn't get in trouble, they used to be like, bro, you the golden boy, man.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like the same thing. It's always one like that.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. Like I knew, like, cause when you grow up in a certain neighborhood, like you can't control your friends
At all.
Like the people when you walk outside, you see kids playing basketball, football, like those are people you gravitate towards. And then like my brothers had older friends as well, so it was like the stuff that they were doing, all the younger brothers are going to be around it as well.
Because we look up to it.
Exactly. But football and basketball and track kind of like took my brothers away from the environment and in that neighborhood. But I was still elementary, middle school, so they, sports were their safe place.
Right.
But I didn't have those
You ain't
sports.
have one yet.
Yeah,
Or old enough to
yeah,
have one.
until like middle school. And at that point, I started being there less. But I got smart enough to understand, like, these are my friends, but, you can kind of feel when stuff about to go down.
Yeah.
And I was always,
Intuition is real.
And, they'd always be like, oh, Jabari, you want to go do this? You want to go do that? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm about to go or whatever. And then as soon as time start coming, I'd be like, all right, y'all boys.
I use that type.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
All right, y'all boys. I got to head in. Because, I ain't no dummy.
That's real.
Like we cool, but I'm not trying to be in the same.
You ain't trying to be in
Because
the
I
mix.
done seen all these mistakes before, and like I don't want that for myself. You know what I mean? So I would kind of just protect myself, and like time went on, and I started seeing this person get locked up when I was supposed to be with them. I said I was gonna go, and like all type of stuff, like breaking in houses and all type of stuff. Like I remember one time I said I was gonna go, and I like kind of last minute was like, all right, nah, I'm about to go home.
Yeah.
I go home for a couple hours. I come back outside. My friends in the cop cars, like right down the road.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, like I'm glad I like dodged that bullet.
Yeah. Because also that could have been me then. So around middle school, right? That's around the time kids get introduced and they get to, you know, get in Pop Warner sports and intramural sports and all that. Did you go to sports that early as far as like middle school? Or?
So I played 1 year Pop Warner football.
Okay. Around what age that was?
3rd grade, so 8 years old.
Okay.
I was like a very bright kid. Like I was like, it's funny because like even early on, like I was one of those kids that like was too smart for your own good, and like I had like discipline problems in elementary school and in middle school.
Yeah.
But it was funny because like I told my mom I had a friend who skipped a grade, and I said I want to skip a grade. So we went and took the test. Passed it easy to skip a grade, but they said, oh no, you can't because you have disciplinary issues. Oh wow. So I never did, but I was always, you know, in advanced classes and stuff. Yeah. So, you know, everything worked out. I kind of stayed my course. Ended up getting in sports. When I got to like middle school, I did a little bit of track and field. Okay. And that was really it. I didn't make the basketball team.
Yeah, me neither, dog. I wanted to play basketball so bad. I didn't make the team. But who cares, you know? So when you got into high school, did you still, you know, pursue that dream of trying to play basketball? Or were you like, nah, I'm going to just leave that one alone?
So basketball was never really my passion. One of like my older brothers, they were pretty known for football. So it was like, and everybody in our neighborhood, their older brothers play football as well. Yeah. So I already knew that was kind of going to be my path. About 8th grade summer is when my brother's friends used to come and pick me up to go to the high school practices. So all the rest of my friends were in the neighborhood doing who knows what, and I was already working out with the high school football team. Yeah. So it made it real easy for the coaches to just go ahead and move me up to varsity because they're like, this kid
don't have to train him as much.
Yeah, like he already knows the ropes. He's already dedicated. I tried out for basketball freshman year. I didn't really get a lot of playing time because
you made the team, all right?
I did. Yeah. But after that, like we went to playoffs. I got moved up to varsity in my freshman year at the end. Oh, no. And I missed a lot of the basketball season. Why? So because of playoffs, I didn't get to the basketball season until almost January. So then I'm just like, this is lame. I'm better than these kids. And the next year I was like, you know what? The way I started wrestling was I got hurt for football. And
but that was like later on down the line, like what grade?
10th. So
10th grade, okay.
So ninth, what was that? The 9th grade summer. So transitioning into 10th grade. Yeah. Riding dirt bikes and 4-wheelers, I ended up getting hurt.
The Florida way.
Yeah. So I ended up getting hurt, and I missed like 5 games. Was supposed to be on varsity. I ended up missing 5 games. Yeah.
Every game counts on varsity.
I ended up missing 5 games. But closer to the time that it was time for me to come back to football, I couldn't start yet because of the impact, and they would have caused more injury.
Oh, yeah. So had to wait it out.
Yeah, so I ended up getting into wrestling, and it's a funny story how we was all doing like UFC fighting in the neighborhood. We all bought like
I was like Kimbo Slice, like
for real, like we all had UFC gloves. And we used to be in the backyard like fighting and stuff. Yeah, and next thing you know, one of the boys was like, "Oh, I'm gonna start going to wrestling practice so I can start doing MMA." Yeah. And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna start doing wrestling."
Like you finna up me. Right. I'm gonna come back to this backyard and put it on you.
So I was like, I'm gonna start doing wrestling there. And I did wrestling for like 2 weeks. Yeah. Got healthy, went back to football, finished the football season not really how I wanted because I missed so much time. Yeah. But man, I fell in love with wrestling. It was just like football, but you could literally beat somebody with your hands. And like I think like wrestling is an outlet as well because it's a one-on-one sport. You don't really have to depend on nobody else to do your job for you.
Right.
Not only that, but you can be like 10 times more aggressive in wrestling than you can in football. You literally can pick somebody up and throw them on their head. And it's legal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In football, unnecessary roughness.
Yeah, that's something for to think about. Like, if
Yeah.
I'm really having these aggression problems, trying to figure out how to channel my anger, and football ain't really doing it for me, I can really go there and
Yeah. And like, that's what I tell a lot of kids and a lot of high schoolers and people with, you know, who, I mean, because I didn't have the best home life. You know what I mean? It's like typical story. Parents are never really home because they're
Like
doing what they
working.
got to do.
Yeah.
And then when they do get home, it's only enough time. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Cook dinner, eat, and go to bed.
Yeah, and
So
get
then,
ready for the next day.
right. So then it's like, if there's any problems in the household, everything's magnified because it's like, this is my only time to talk to my parents. And when they see me, there's only enough time to be disciplined.
Yep.
And then you go to bed.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, I was dealing with a lot of issues like on that nature.
Yeah.
Not only that, but like I'm like the youngest, and I was like the problem child of the family. So I felt like everything was like magnified.
Yeah, everything I do is just 10 times like,
right. So
can't do nothing.
Right. So man, I use wrestling as a huge outlet. Like, I ended up having to move out of my mama's house in like 10th grade.
Wait, why, like, have to, like,
Yeah,
forcibly, like,
yeah. Things weren't good. Communication issues. I don't know. I'm the type of person, like, I demand like the utmost respect, and like my outlook on it is, if I'm not gonna let somebody on the street talk to me a certain type of way, I feel like if you're my parent and you tell me you love me every day, you shouldn't talk to me like somebody on the street.
Yeah.
Because if I won't let it slide on the street, why should I let it slide here? And you say you love me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was young, like 13. And,
Oh, man.
And I used to like tell her, like, you see the way I'm talking to you, like, calm.
Respectfully, give me that same respect.
Yeah, and I would say that. But of course, you know, old style of parenting is disrespectful.
It's my way. And
Yeah. So, you know, that kind of relationship just kept on. It was like,
and it was
never
like
resolved.
so much friction.
Yeah, and then once I ended up getting into about 10th grade, that's when like things got bad, and I ended up just leaving and took myself out of that situation.
So how were you able to go about that whole, like, leaving, you know, as a minor?
It was rough, man. Like,
I can imagine.
I literally just, and this is in the middle of like football season.
Yeah.
So I literally just packed my bags one night and I left. And like I grew up in a church, you know what I'm saying? Like Winkler Baptist Church, they have like a bus ministry.
Yeah.
And they come to, you know, like kind of rough neighborhoods, pick people up and, you know, take us to church.
Kind of like how they did with Raymond's Rollerland. They used to have that. Okay.
Yep, the church on Sundays. And I ended up leaving. I stayed with some friends here and there for a couple weeks. Called my youth pastor. My youth pastor let me live with him for a while.
Oh.
And at a certain point, he was like, you know, I'm not your legal guardian, so we're gonna have to figure something out.
Yeah.
I had a wrestling dad who would always pick me up and take me to practices and tournaments.
Yeah.
And I was with him for a couple weeks, and somehow they reached out and found like my biological dad. And I like before,
And you guys never met before that?
I knew him like when I was a baby, and then
Right.
it's like second grade for like a few months in second grade.
Yeah.
So it was like they found him and was like, do you want to well, I didn't have a choice. They was like, well, this is your guardian, like your biological guardian, like you have to go with him. And I'm just like, I ain't have a choice.
Yeah, and
so,
you're just thrown off with a stranger at this point, basically.
Yeah. So they dropped me off over there, and like I knew about him and like, you know, his past and stuff, and you know, pretty much raised off of survival. So in and out of jail, and,
Okay.
you know, just trying to survive really. And like he ended up being cool. Like I met him. You know, we didn't really speak that much.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure y'all was just trying to figure each other out, like, for the first few.
Exactly. And it ended up being one of the best things that happened to me because he was a Christian as well. So I was able to like talk to him about that relationship. It was still tough because again, like he raised himself.
Yeah.
So he was pretty much still like, I couldn't ask him for nothing because the way he was raised, he kind of projected that on me.
Yeah, like go
Like,
and get it.
Yeah. Like it was tough, man. It was very tough.
Yeah.
So
But what's one thing that you say that you can learn, that you know learn throughout that process of like having to be, I don't know, really on your own at such a long age?
So one of the things that I learned, and like I take this to everybody, and like so I'm the youngest of 5. I got brothers and sisters. My dad has like over 15 kids. My mom has like over 12 siblings, like huge family.
Right.
And it's like at my lowest points, I couldn't reach out to anybody. Still to this day, if something was terrible to happen to me, I couldn't reach out to anybody.
All you got is you.
Yeah. And one of the lessons that I had to learn early on was at the end of the day, all we have is ourselves. Because even though you're family, even though you got a twin sister, because I do, I'm like, it doesn't matter, because all we have is ourselves, and it doesn't matter if you're family. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you. If you dwell in the past, you're not moving forward. So my mindset when I'm faced with anything is like, yeah, I can sit there and complain, but that's not helping me move forward. So my mindset is always take the next step to better my situation, because if I don't better my situation, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow in the same place that I was today, and I'm still gonna be complaining. So whenever something happens, I'll complain to myself, and you know, there's a stigma in the Black community and minorities that we don't talk about problems,
Right.
and I really don't. But I got one friend who
All we need is one.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll tell him a little bit of what's going on, and he'll be like, "Dang, man." Like, I don't really say a lot, but I'll be like, "It's okay," and he'll let me know, "Bro, you know, you done been through stuff like this before," and he'll, you know, just kind of talk to me about
that
it.
reassurance.
Yeah, and then once that's over, I say what I need to say, and I just keep it moving. And you always got to improve, because you're gonna be stuck in the same spot if you don't figure out the next plan of action.
Yeah.
So like that's the biggest thing, man.
Yeah. What did that do for like your mental? Because I feel like when most people, when they get put in situations where it's like they have to, where they feel like they can depend on someone and they get let down so many times, it kind of puts them in like a cold place. But it's some people, and I feel like you might be this person, correct me if I'm wrong, that like after being let down so many times, they just go to figuring this thing out. Like, what is that I need help with? If I can't get this help, I'm going to figure this out and, you know, get it done. Is that like, did that situation kind of put you in that type of mindset from here on out?
It kind of does, because I was never able to lean on anybody, and it didn't matter if it was like for physical needs or any like or just educational needs. Because a lot of times, man, you know how long it took me to make an LLC? Like it took me years.
Yeah, when they just clicking on the website, pretty much.
And the thing is like, again, I'll like one thing about me, I'll talk to people for answers. Like if I don't know how to do it, I'm gonna reach out and I'm gonna keep talking to people and try to piece a little bit by little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to somebody else and I'll say, well, this is what I learned. This is what I heard. Is this true?
Yeah.
And
Fact
I'll just keep on poking, trying to, you know, accomplish whatever it is I need to accomplish, learn whatever it is I need to accomplish. And yeah, man, just like little by little, step by step. And because, I mean, again, if you're used to being let down so many times, you don't even want to reach out and ask for help.
Yeah.
So like I'll rarely ask for help, but I'll ask for the tools to help myself. So if me and you are talking,
that's a big difference.
Yeah, I'll ask you a bunch of questions, and you probably be wondering like, why he asking so many questions? Yeah, it's because I'm trying to figure out my own process and what I need to learn inside my mind. Yeah. So like that, like there, like you said, kind of like a mode of like ultra dependency. I kind of did form that, but at the same time, like I realized it was kind of I hate like this word is like overused. It was kind of toxic as well, because if I don't know anything and I don't want to depend on anybody for knowledge or resources, it cripples you. But what I had to learn was, man, I did so many jobs and I talked to so many people. I promise you, I did a delivery, Domino's delivery driving. Yeah. And man, I was busting my butt. But every time I went to like a decent sized house, I would say, hey, if you don't mind, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
And they tell me.
TikTok,
yeah. So then I just piece it up and I be like, all right, if I want to, get to this level or this status of living,
That's
this
what
I got to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed everybody started off as the worker and then they learn the skill and they work their way up. So then it's like I'm learning and I'm learning and I'm learning just through conversations. What I figured out early on was that if I want to learn how to make an LLC or create an LLC, I can't ask somebody who doesn't have an LLC. I need.
You can say that again.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like I learned to start being strategic in who I ask or who I spread my my wants, my goals, and my dreams to, because if somebody's they're not on the same mindset as you, if they are not doing what you want to do, they're going to cast their fears and projections on you. No, you can't do that. No, what? You can't own a business.
And they ain't doing nothing but wasting your time.
Exactly.
Because that's not what I asked you for.
Exactly. So you have this image in your mind. I want to be a national champ. I want to be the first college graduate. I want to do this. But somebody who's not doing that, they're going to pretty much tell you either I don't know or you can't do it.
Yeah.
So I just started, asking people who are already doing it. That's a rough road as well because some people they don't want to share knowledge.
Everybody don't want to because they feel like I had to work for this. You have to work for this too.
Yeah.
But there's also some people out here that's
That's
willing
right.
to throw you everything that they learn because
that's right, man.
It's I learned that too. Like I used to be that guy that was like selfish with my resources because it's like, man, I really had to get it out the mud. I really did. But after a while, it was just like, man, what you being so selfish for? This ain't getting you nothing but more haters at this point. And then it was just like, man, like I don't know. Something came over me to the point where it's like I do know how to do this and I don't want nothing for this. And it's just like it kind of stuck. It was like, because it's easier than what I thought. It ain't hurt me at all to give you this information. And I know that you ain't gonna do it like I do it, like if it was to come to it or whatever the case.
Like I was the one who, like I'm very selfless because I know like the road that I had to get to just to like not have to worry day to day on certain things, just surviving day to day. That like I'm so quick to give out information, but then I'll turn around and I'll ask these same people for information, and then I don't get it, and I'll start to kind of catch myself getting bitter. But then I have to like get myself out of that because it's like, okay, now you just understand who is who in your life. Yeah. And I can't take those projections that were casted on me and
put it on.
Yeah. But so it's like I just got to remember like who I am, what I stand for, and keep on putting good out into the universe, man. So.
Tenfold. So let's get back to the journey to college. So in high school, you were playing football. Did you get any offers for football?
I did. Man, I had an amazing football journey. What kind of help was the emotional release, man. Like my best football game was I literally was like homeless. I didn't know where I was gonna sleep. And I remember we played Cypress. Yeah. And
I know you gave it that. I'm an alumni. I know you gave it.
I scored like 2 times from defense. Yeah. I had an interception. Yeah. Probably like 12, 13
I'm sure
solo
there's
tackles.
More stats.
Like
50-0 or something.
But I think I actually like picked up one of my first looks from that game. Yeah. But I ended up, and I made it to the All-Star game. Upon graduation, I had a full ride to Southwest Baptist University.
Wait, say that again?
Southwest Baptist University. Okay. It's in Missouri, Division II. At the All-Star game, FAU came up and reached out to me. Nice. Northern Iowa was looking at me, Jacksonville. Okay. A bunch of smaller schools. I didn't really pay them any attention.
Ain't Dion the coach at Jacksonville right now? Or is that another school?
Jacksonville State.
I'm tripping. I think I'm talking about something else.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But Jacksonville State is that one. I had Jacksonville University. I don't even think they have a college football anymore program. But yeah, so I had a bunch of offers for football. But what I started noticing was that the college coaches would come way to Fort Myers to my high school to talk to me and meet me, and they would say, "Oh, your film is amazing," but before they left, they would say, they would always comment on my height, and they would be like, your skills, your stats, your film impressed us, but if only you were an inch or two taller.
What is that supposed to mean?
Yeah. and
Is you gonna give me some tips that I can? What can I do for that? You know?
Yeah. So, so I originally thought I was gonna go to college and play football.
Right.
And then I started noticing that, you know, junior year, everybody's starting to get offers but me.
Mm-hmm.
I have an amazing senior year, and then I start getting offers and looks, but it's not Division I, how I kind of wanted it.
Yeah, it's
but,
like JUCOs and stuff.
Division II, JUCOs. But what really kind of solidified my decision to go wrestle was that wrestling doesn't limit you. Like, I done seen people with one arm who were mentally challenged, who had, there's a kid who's a state champ who has like no arms, no legs, just like nubs. Yeah. And the kid ended up being like a 2-3 time state champ. I actually had a friend in college who wrestled him. Yeah. And like said the guy was good. Like I've seen, like I've seen people with one arm out there beating kids. Like there's national champions D1 with one leg. Like wrestling doesn't limit you.
Yeah. No excuses.
Yeah, it doesn't matter your body type, how tall you are, how strong you are. Like, it doesn't limit you. And nobody can say you don't deserve it. Yeah. Because you put in the time, you worked your butt off, you won that state championship, here's your college offer. Like, there's no favoritism. But in football, there's favoritism.
It is.
And one thing about me is, like, whatever, like, I work off of passion. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it ain't my passion, I'm not going to do it. Because if you're not obsessed with it, if you're not in love with it, you're not going to give your full effort.
At all.
So it's like, my thing was, whatever I did, I wanted to be the best at it. And immediately, when they started talking about my height, I'm thinking, if you're limiting me now with college offers, how can I get to the NFL? So I started saying, you know what? Maybe I should wrestle. Not only that, but I had lost the state championship by like 3 points. And
I know that
like
was
that burning like desire, I was like, I only wrestled for 2.5 years. How good could I be in 5 years? How good could I be in 4 more years of college? Like, can I get to the Olympic level? Can I? And so I'm like, you know what? Let me take a chance. And I've always been different, man. Like, just growing up as well, like I always did my own thing. I didn't follow crowds. And all my friends, like 8 of them, went to play football, and I was the only one who went to wrestle. And
only one that went to wrestle.
And man, and I mean, I don't regret it at all. I end up, and like that's how I end up like getting into wrestling in college. And I didn't even have, I had like one offer, and it was to a junior college, a JUCO.
One offer for wrestling? Yeah.
And I didn't even know what a JUCO was.
Yeah.
Like,
I just heard it from ex-football players, to be honest.
Like, I didn't know what a JUCO was. And then, you know, I'm talking to, it was a wrestler from here who went up to that school. And, you know, the coaches had him calling me, trying to like network and bridge the gap, you know, familiar faces. And I remember one of the like first conversations I had, he's like, yeah, we're excited to get you up here. You know, we're going to get you a plane ticket.
Oh,
you know,
we finna get fluid out.
And he was like, you know, we don't have college dorms. We stay in apartments, but it's pretty cheap. And I'm just thinking, like, who got money for a plane ticket? I don't got no money for a plane ticket. I don't even got money now. How am I affording an apartment? I'm like,
they wasn't paying for your ticket?
They didn't talk about it. But the first thing in my mind was like, I don't got no money.
Right.
My folks ain't got no money. I can't ask them about it for money, so I'm like, I'm not going. And then one of my best friends was like, he wrestled, and he had an offer. And he was like, I really want us to wrestle in college. So I didn't even know. He told his coach about me. His coach ended up offering me. Man. So, and I ended up going.
I would take it one good friend.
So, and like, we're still close. I ended up going to Ohio Valley University to wrestle, and that was Division II as well.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up in college for wrestling.
So you started off at D2 wrestling. And what was the first year like?
The first year, it was very rough.
As far as like adapting in a new state,
adapting in a new state, it wasn't too bad because like I was the type of person, like I didn't feel like 4 miles was my home. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, I was homeless. I didn't feel like I had a home there. So I was never afraid of opportunity. Wherever somebody said, here's a scholarship, I was going. Like, I had offers in football for wherever states, and they're like, you're going to go there? And I'm like, yeah, that's where the money at. Like, who else going to pay for my college? So the environment, it wasn't a thing. Like, Man, it really wasn't. It was West Virginia. It was more black people on campus than in the whole like city. You know what I'm saying?
That's like a culture shock.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm only there for one purpose: education and to win a national championship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but on the mat, it was very rough, man. I lost my first 4 matches before I got pinned my first match. I got teched my second match. Tech is like they beat you so bad that you had like the ref stopped the match.
No.
Yeah, and then.
So like what is that doing for your ego at that time?
I mean, like it really humbled me.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
humble is
like
a great word, yeah.
my coach, Pat Soul, his like key words was just go out there and have fun. Just go out there and have fun.
Yeah.
But I was putting so much pressure on myself. Like you gotta go out there and you gotta wrestle well and you gotta do your best. That like I was afraid of messing up.
Yeah.
And you know, I wrestle so well in practice, but then I get to the matches and it would be like, I would kind of forget everything.
Like freeze up.
Yeah, and I would be so afraid of messing up that I didn't do anything. And then finally, I'm like, I lost 4 matches back to back to back, like 4 different events.
Yeah.
And I lost 4 times to the point to where I'm like, I don't even think this wrestling stuff for me.
Right.
Like I'm about
You
to
ready
call
to quit
these
at this
football
point,
coaches
like,
and say,
yeah.
hey coach,
Want me to see me run that route real quick?
Right.
I'm fast. Yeah.
So finally I just told myself, go out there and have fun. And man, at the very next tournament, I ended up placing 3rd at a college tournament freshman year.
Yeah.
The very next tournament, ended up placing again. And I just started winning match after match after match.
Had a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, and it was like, I just was having fun. And like, bro, I walk off the mat, like I could lose and I walk off the mat laughing. And I literally tell my coach like, dang, that was fun.
I'd be mad.
You know what I'm saying?
Because
I mean, I ain't had nothing to lose. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I didn't have nothing to lose. Like, I was learning the whole time. And even when I lost, I was still learning. And I was getting better every time and every time. And once I like found like my place in the wrestling world, then I was like, okay, now this is the standard. You've beaten so many people. You've beaten All-Americans. Like, it ain't no excuses now why you should be losing.
Yeah.
So then, like, my
Turned it
mindset
up a
kind of
notch.
switched. But I had to adjust to that, to the wrestling world, the collegiate. Because in college, everybody's good. Everybody's a state champ. Everybody was the best kid in their high school. Like, everybody's good.
So it's competition every day.
Yeah, man. So, like, I think that was, like, the hardest part about adjusting into college.
So, all right, you in a place, it's barely any people like us. What was it like, you know, keeping some money in college? Because, you know, we always hear the story about a broke college student.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. You got to wrestle every day, so I don't know how much you'll spend on the clock. So I want to know, how was that situation, just surviving?
So, I made money 2 different ways. Because, you know, on paper, I didn't make anything. My parents didn't make anything. I qualified for Pell Grant.
Okay.
So Pell Grant is like
fast food.
Yeah, I could get a work study job. So I worked in a school library like 5 hours a week.
Yeah.
And it was perfect because I get out of practice, I take my book bag with my homework into the media center, and I just do my homework. And they paid me to do my homework.
They ain't gonna bother you too much in the library.
Yeah, nah. Yeah. And if people, like, one thing about me, bro, I need like complete silence to do my work. Yeah. So like they was paying me to yell at people to be quiet so I can do my homework. Yeah. And like, you know what I'm saying? So like it was perfect. And I'd be like, bro, if you want to leave, like, cause I'm trying to get my homework done. So like,
we trying to be productive citizens.
Right. That's right. Like I ain't gonna tell you too many times.
Yeah.
So like that was that. Not only that, but bro, I was cutting hair on campus.
Nah,
I swear.
You was one of them.
Bro, still to today. Like,
barber on campus.
Like still to today. Like I don't pay barbers, bro. Like
because
me
neither, by the way.
And it started when I was in like middle school. Man, I messed myself up bad. Like I used to ask my
That's how it started.
I used to ask my stepdaddy, like, hey, can you cut me up? Can you cut me up? He'd be like, next Sunday. And then finally I'm like, all right. So, you know, started off with like a regular like shaving razor. I lined myself up perfect. I went to school. Everybody like, oh, who did your edge?
Okay, I see you.
Reinvented.
One of them.
So first time went perfect. Try to do it again. I ain't wait long enough for my edge to grow out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like the very next week, started to get that stubble back. I tried to do it again, push my edge way back.
Yeah, it happens, dog.
so
I be feeling like black men live the same life because everybody got to go through this.
Like you got to mess up to get it right.
You got to mess your edge up to get it right.
So,
that's how you find your barber.
Yeah.
So I'm working at the library and I'm messing my edge up. That's how I get my money.
So like, I like even in middle school, bro. Once I got it right, I started cutting all the middle, like my friends' hair, and then I got to high school, and of course I had no money, so my friends used to ask me who cut your hair. So then they used to come to my dad's house and I used to cut their hair.
Yeah. So
by that time, and I'm on YouTube looking at people cut. So I learned how to start fading and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, so I was dedicated, man. I didn't party, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't do nothing. Yeah. Like I'm there to win a championship and get education.
Focus.
So Fridays, everybody was going out, and one person used to ask me, "Oh, can you cut my hair or whatever?" And I say, "Yeah." Next thing you know, the whole basketball team in my room.
Yeah.
Because they going out.
30 heads.
So every weekend, Friday, I just open up my room door. Everybody come in, sit. Yeah. And it was cheap. I was doing like 7 a head.
Oh, yeah.
This 2013.
All that, yeah.
So the whole night, I would just be cutting and every week. And that's how I was. And like that's how I would have money to like go buy a new shirt if I wanted to. Go buy food for my room. Go buy laundry.
You're getting back to everyday life. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like that took me a long way, man. And it was funny. Like I had to like really learn how to cut. Like I had Hispanic dudes bringing me pictures of like Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Like, can you do this? And I'd be like, yeah, bro, just sit down. Or if I didn't know how to do it, I'd be like, come back tomorrow.
Yeah, I bet I learned how to do it.
Right on my phone on YouTube, looking up how to do it. So I mean, I found a way to get some money.
That part.
Like, if I don't know it, I'm gonna find somebody to teach me. I don't care if it's YouTube or not.
Yeah.
So like that's how I was getting money throughout college, like my whole college career actually.
So, but I think I want to structure this the right way because we're talking about wrestling, right? And it's a sport. It can be a professional sport, but does wrestling pay?
It does. So one of my first coaching gigs was when I came home for the summer, and at this time I was just a college wrestler who, I didn't really accomplish much at that time. I just had a winning career. Yeah. And one of the first people that gave me my opportunity were the Rivera twins, and they're D1 right now.
Okay, shout out to them.
Yeah, and they gave me my first opportunity. And every time I would come home, I would just volunteer at local high schools. And their mom came up to me and finally said, "Hey, we have a mat at our house. Can you come over?"
Oh, and I think one-on-one type of thing.
Yeah, and I think they paid me like $50 because it's twins, two boys, and they paid me like $50 for like an hour and a half, and that was my first time. Okay. As the years went on, I started figuring out like I can be paid for this. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I did. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how much to charge. Because at this time I didn't have any accomplishments.
Right. So like going about figuring that out, how was the process?
It was tough. And again, like I would talk to people, but if you are not doing it, you can't really tell me anything. Yeah. And like it wasn't until I won nationals to where I actually like made consistent money. Because before that, it might be like one here, one there. And even before that, like I coached a kid who he made the world team. Like I literally coached him. He made Team USA. Wow. And he was a junior in high school. But his dad was trying to pay me. And this is for a whole summer. Yeah. His dad was trying to pay me. And I'm like, no, like don't pay me because nobody ever charged me for nothing in the wrestling world.
Oh, like paying it for it.
Bruh, this is 2021. I bought my first pair of wrestling shoes and I started wrestling in 2010. Yeah. Bought my first pair of wrestling shoes. I never had to pay for tournaments. I never had to pay for wrestling trips. Man, I never paid for anything.
That's a different world because, man, I be looking at like in the football world, man, it be these
Everything
guys
costs.
that everything costs. Like it be guys that come and they hold little tournaments for the kids, but they charging the kids $25 and $50 a piece to get in the tournament.
Yeah.
And it's like these kids from the projects, they don't have we can't share this money out. So it's like, dang, so you talking about the wrestling world, and it's basically free if you want to learn it. The knowledge is there. That's wild.
Well, yeah, like my coaches and my like friends, parents, families, they would always pay for me because they saw like my passion and drive.
Yeah.
So my first opportunity to make real money, I told the dad, I'm like, I don't want your money because nobody charged me for this. Yeah. And then the kid was so advanced and he was about the same weight that I was. I'm like, he's my practice partner. Yeah. But I told the dad, I'm like, okay, at the end of summer, because I'm in West Virginia at this point.
Okay.
I'm not even home because I'm like, I don't have a home.
Yeah.
So I called my friend. I'm like, can I stay with you for the summer? He links me with this kid and his dad. And at the end, I say, hey, you know, I didn't charge you any money, but I have to go back to school. Can you buy my plane ticket? And he paid me my way to go back to college.
That's how you do it.
And he was like one of the first ones. Once I won nationals, that's when I started calling on my other wrestling friends who were doing lessons. And he, you know, he told me early on, he was like, Jabari, if I were you, I wouldn't charge anything less than $40 an hour. But he lives in like upscale Atlanta. Yeah. So you can charge whatever
like
you want.
From California.
Yeah, so they can afford it. I'm like, bro, do you know where I live? So I started off $20 an hour out of Lehigh Senior High School cafeteria. And like that's where it all started. I coached two brothers, Tom and Emilio Barco. They're both in college right now.
Nice.
They would have probably been in college anyway, but you know, I kind of used my resources and reached out for them, and they're doing amazing in college. And so that's how I got my start. So I pretty much started, you know, coaching kids consistently after their high school practices or on the weekends. Then I started doing free camps and clinics. So just like you said, you know, the college guys, the NFL guys come back to the city and they charge all the kids. Well, I'm like, even though people know who I am around this area, like people, they won't really respect you or give you the respect that you deserve or recognition because they know you. They see you from nothing. Right. So their image is still the same.
What they used to see you as. Yeah.
So I started just doing free events just to try to get people through the doors.
Yeah, just come check it out. See what I'm about real quick.
And bro, that was one of the roughest things, man. Like, it was rough. I have one kid one week, 2 kids the next week, 0 kids. 12 kids the next week, back to 1 kid. And like I was kind of like, you know, questioning myself, like, are you a good coach? Like,
trying to figure out what's gonna make this get more traction.
And it wasn't until I started putting a price on it, that you know, people started coming in.
Wow.
I figured out through asking other coaches who were doing what I was doing. So early on, I had to make an Instagram because of marketing, and I don't even like social media. Yeah. But I made an Instagram. I reached out, you know, hashtagged 3 different. I just wrestling. The 3 the biggest pages that they were the first people I followed, and I reached out to them and I said, hey, if you don't mind it, you know, I said, I appreciate what you guys are doing. You inspire me. I want to get to where you are. I have some questions. Maybe you guys can help me. And they all said, yes, we will. Yeah. And I said, well, can I have your emails? And I typed them a long list of questions. Yeah. And I said, here's my number, my contact information. They all emailed me back, and I sent the same page to like 3 or 4 different people.
Because what's the worst thing happen?
Exactly. So they all sent me answers back. And one of the first questions I asked them, well, how much do you guys charge? What was your process like growing? You know, things of that nature. And what I figured out was one coach said he started off super cheap and then he got expensive. The other coach said he started off super expensive and then he got cheap. As they grew, they both went through different cycles. Yeah. And then I figured out that it's really just the human mind.
Yeah.
Like,
ain't no blueprint really.
It's the human mind. Like, people won't value something until there's a price on it. The same reason why, like, it comes to brands. You know what I mean? Like, think about Champion. Champion was in Walmart. Nobody was wearing it.
Walk right past it.
Exactly. Yep. But the price goes up, and now people think that is valuable. So, like, I wasn't getting people in, not because I wasn't a good coach or I didn't know my material. It was because there was no value on it. So then once they started saying I wouldn't charge anything less than this, and I'm just like, well, these people can't afford it. How can I do that? Like, no, I'm not going to get anybody.
But that's kind of putting you in a different bracket as far as like
exactly.
It's more than you gravitating you towards more people who can afford it.
in a different echelon. And I had to learn that as well. And that's part of marketing and creating a business plan. You got your target audience.
Yeah.
And once I started pricing it, that's when the people started coming in. And it's like, what? Like, I had free stuff for you before, and you didn't come. Now that I put a price on it, you come, and I'm just like, that's backwards. Like I tried to help y'all, but now, like, I mean, if that's the way the human mind works, then okay. Like, we're both benefiting now. Yeah, you know what I mean. So,
but I noticed, like, you still, because when you started it, you had in mind that you wanted to do it for people who like really couldn't afford it. You wanted it to be affordable, and you learning that you really can't be affordable. So, what do you do for the people that you initially wanted to work with?
So, let me start off by saying that one of my biggest challenges is getting the inner city youth to wrestle. That is my biggest challenge. And it's like, I seen what it did for me. Like the kids, I have a bunch of kids from Haiti. They literally came over from Haiti, and I got them to wrestle. And they are amazing. Yeah. Like they're like they didn't play any sports. I built their athleticism fast. And now they're some of the best athletes at Lehigh Senior High School. That's dope. And it's like, they come from the struggle, and it helps them. Yeah. And they love me like I'm their dad. And I'm like, bro, chill. Like, you know what I mean?
The amount that coaches weigh to these kids,
exactly.
Man. Yeah.
And I'm just like, you see these kids in the inner city, they're fighting and getting in trouble for it. You can legally fight on the mat and earn you a scholarship.
You can really be gangster on camera.
Yes. Literally. Yeah. Like, not only that, it's mental detoxification, emotional. Like, you're releasing these emotional like battles on the mat, and it's like, we struggle so much with like mental health and emotional health. Yeah. Why are you fighting in school? You can literally do it on the mat. Yeah. And like, that's my biggest problem, is like getting inner city youth out. Yeah. So one thing that I do for kids who can't afford it, so because I do private lessons, every Sunday I'm up, I get to the gym at like 8 o'clock and I'm doing lessons all the way up until 2 o'clock. Yeah. And if I can't be on the mat with a kid, like let's say I just did 4 lessons, almost 5 hours of work, and I'm too tired, or I know this kid really wants to get better, but he can't do it, I'll say, hey, can you be here at every Sunday? I'll tell them, like, this isn't a charity. Like, if you want to come to my club 3 times a week or 2 times a week and practice, you're going to work for me. Yeah. So every Sunday, I need you here at this time, because at that point, it's not free. You're working for me. Yeah. And I had to do that. Like, that literally happened to me.
That type of value that you're instilling in a kid, like that, bro, it's so many people that they don't learn financial responsibility or any, type of responsibility until they forced to be as an adult trying to figure out how to make some money. And you giving them their first sign of that.
And like, I would have never knew that until it happened to me. I'm a college kid. Right after my freshman year of college, and like, that's a funny story in itself. Like, I used to watch these wrestling videos, and there was this Russian guy at Ohio State camp, like in his wrestling room, and he was doing all these crazy moves. I get to college, and one of my friends says, hey, do you want to come get an extra practice? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm a freshman, he's like a sophomore, and he's doing these crazy moves. And I stopped the practicing, and it's only us two. I stopped the practice, and I say, hey, I seen these moves on a video in high school. He was like, that's my coach. And I'm like, bro, you lying. I'm like, that is not your coach, bro. Yeah. And he's like, no, that's my coach.
Say it all nonchalant.
Yeah. But and I'm like, bro, you're lying. I'm like, I don't believe you. Like, my high school coach ordered these videos, and we watched them in high school. And he was like, okay. He was like, was he like Russian? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, was he wearing this? Yeah. Was it 2 guys? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, was he at Ohio State? And I'm like, yes. He was like, that's my coach. I'm like, bro, what? And I'm like, that's your coach? So then again, once summer starts getting close, I know that I can't go home. So I had met the Ohio State wrestling coach my senior year in high school at a clinic. Somebody paid for me to go to a clinic. And this coach, me and him bond immediately. He comes to me and says, I heard you committed to this school in Ohio. And I say, yeah. And he says, his name's Tom Ryan. He says, if you All-American your freshman year in at this D2, he was like, I got a D1 scholarship for you. So and that's part of the reason why I had so much pressure on myself to do well, is because I'm like, I need to get D1. Already. I need to get D1. And I end up being one match from nationals my freshman year. So I'm like devastated, and I call him. I'm like, look, man, I didn't do what I needed to do. Can I just go train with you guys? And he's like, yeah, come on over.
Okay.
So then at that practice with my friend, he's like, that's my coach. And I'm like, well, Ohio State said I can train over there for the summer. Can I stay with you? Because he lives like 10 minutes from Ohio State.
Yeah.
He says yes. So I'm at Ohio State every day, and then I have to sit and watch his practices with this Russian Olympian. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And early on, I meet his coach, and his coach says, he stops me early on. He says, I have world champions that want to train here. I have, D1 All-Americans, D1 national champions that want to train here. I don't let anybody come and train here unless I know you, or unless, he was like, I'm very expensive. You can't afford me. He was like, so.
Right, shut up.
But he's serious. Bro, it was 4 and 5 year olds doing moves that I've never seen in my life. Like 4 and 5 year olds that are way better the rest of than I am today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was literally learning from kids.
Yeah.
Like, so he said, he was like, when we practice, you can sit on the side and watch. And, this is a whole new world. Yeah. I'm literally sitting down and I'm watching this D1 national champion get yelled at for messing up a move.
Right.
And like,
talk about humbling yourself.
Yeah. And this is a D1 guy working for the Olympics. And I'm just sitting on the side, mouth shut. And the coach who told me, like, you can't afford me, like, I'm very expensive. I wish you could train here, but, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But you can sit and watch. So I'm watching this D1 guy training for the Olympics get yelled at. You suck. And he says, Neil, show him how to do it. Neil's a 5-year-old kid, runs to the middle of the circle, throwing another kid through the air. No. Acrobat. I swear to you. And like this,
put Neil down.
But like I knew the type of place it was, because like these kids are elite. They're doing things that I've never seen. Mm-hmm. This guy working for the Olympics. Shout out to Tyler Graff, who finally made the world team, and he qualified for the Olympics this year, and that was 2014, and he finally did it. So shout out to Tyler Graff.
That's big.
Yeah,
that's big.
So, but it's like, I knew, okay, this is the real deal. But I was grateful that I was able to be there. Mm-hmm. So I would sit there and I learn everything and just watch it. And then I go back to Ohio State and I do the same moves that I just saw the day before. Mm-hmm. And they were working. So it's like, even though I didn't get to do the moves, I remember them, and I would go and practice them on my own time.
Yeah.
And
like YouTube Academy.
Yeah. So, a couple weeks later, the coach comes back to me and he says, hey man, he's like, you're my coach's best friend. All my parents love you, because they're sitting on the sidelines just like me. He's like, all my parents love you. Yeah. He was like, you must be a good guy. You're my coach's best friend. He was like, so here's what I can do. He was like, if you work my camps, he has camps like every week, huge camps. And he says, if you coach my camps, then I can train you in between the camp practices.
Yeah. So, just like how you was doing with the
exactly.
kid with the work. Yeah.
So, bruh, and like still to this day, I use his whole blueprint. Like everything that I learned at that camp, and that I spent that whole summer there. Yeah. Literally everything that I learned there, like I'm like 2.0 version of that. So like his system, like I just learned from everybody around me. Yeah. But like I was thankful that I got to go through the ranks of that, because now I do the same thing for the kids that want to learn. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this ain't free. Like if you want to practice for free, you got to work for me. So then they're learning the moves, they're getting better. Yeah. And at the same time, it's helping me out, because, we're both stimulating each other.
Right. Man, that's amazing, dog. Mm-hmm. One question. You got any advice for someone who's, trying to follow their dream or starting out a career, and they just feel like very stagnant in what they're doing, and they just looking for that sign to keep going? What would you tell them?
So one word of advice is, because this is what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And again, I was reaching out, asking everybody for answers, and nobody could give me answers. Mm-hmm. And finally, it would leave me to a point that I would be stagnant, and I would say, you know what? Well, maybe God didn't choose me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And like, it would hurt because it's like I do everything right. Like I'm
my best ability,
like I'm not involved in this. I give back to the community. I do everything in my possible nature and I help others. But it's like, maybe this is not what God wanted because I'm reaching out for answers. I'm reading books for answers and I don't find anything. And it's like I'm not a person that takes no for an answer. You know what I mean? So what I started doing was I started getting on YouTube and I just started watching videos. And one of the biggest, and I tell everybody this to this day, this like recently happened to me.
Yeah.
I started watching a podcast called Earn Your Leisure. And they teach anything you want to learn business-wise, they teach you how to do it. And I swear to you, I sit in front of my computer and I write notes as I listen to it. It don't matter if they're talking about a business on how to make postcards.
It makes
I'm going to sit there
Yep.
and write everything down because who knows, at one point, somebody might be trying to send me a postcard from India saying, thank you for your YouTube channel teaching me how to wrestle.
Yep.
And I got to send postcards off. So I need to learn something. You know what I'm saying? So like,
anything can apply to my
yeah,
life.
so I started being strategic and deliberate on who I asked for answers. I stopped asking anybody and I would find these people who were already doing it. Like I reached out to those people on Instagram because they were doing it. Like local people who aren't doing it, they can't help you. And I tell people this who are starting businesses and they say, well, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And I say, build relationships with the people that are already doing what you're doing. And I promise you, like the first thing I told to these coaches with these nice programs, I said, I love what you do. I look up to you. I hope I can do what you're doing one day. I have some questions. Are you willing to answer them? And like people, they love that. Like they,
because everybody wants some type of validation.
Yeah, and it's appreciation. It's not like you're a vulture at that point. No, you're giving thanks, and you're gonna continue to spread that knowledge. So I would say build relationships with the people who are doing what you want to do. Number two, go online, read. A lot of people don't like reading, and that's the problem. But here's the beauty of it. If you don't like reading, there's YouTube. Everybody's teaching you anything on YouTube. Anything you want to learn is on YouTube. You got people building robots on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't want to read, go on YouTube.
Go on YouTube.
And that's it. If you don't want to sit there and watch videos, podcasts. I figured out that podcast was free if you got an iPhone. I be listening to a podcast now. So like you know what I'm saying? Like anything you want to learn, it's out there. And the last thing is just don't give up, because if you give up, you're going to look at all these other people doing what you said you wanted to do, and you're going to be sad, and you're going to be in the same spot that you were, and it's going to probably be that much harder to pick up where you left off. So number one is what I say, build relationships with the people who are doing what you want to do. That's the purpose of social media. Don't be on social media looking at girls or trying to look at these rappers who got the nice chains.
Trying to outdress somebody.
No, that's not the purpose. Like, you can be social, but use it for networking. Like, you can use it for positivity. So build relationships. There's different sources of information, books, word of mouth, podcasts, interviews, all type of stuff. And the last one is just don't give up. Like, exhaust every option possible. And here's another thing. Let's say you think that you tried everything you possibly can to accomplish what you want to accomplish and you can't. Go get new experiences. Because
go a little deeper on that one.
Yes.
So you just snap.
So the reason why is because, okay, if we don't have the experiences, we can only think so far. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if I never been outside of Fort Myers, I can't envision a world outside of Fort Myers, even though I'm on the internet thinking and I can see all these other places. It seems like a figment of my imagination because I've never been there. But when we go out and we get new experiences, we're opening up our minds because we're living a life we've never lived. So then your mind is in a different place that you've never been. So then when you go back to your niche, you go back to your community, you're not thinking small-minded anymore. You're thinking of, you know, you not have a, you know, a bigger pond to think in. Like you just became a bigger fish.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I just learned something and I'm thinking about how I'm going to implement it. Yeah.
So like me, bro, like we got each other on social media, bro. I'm always sitting outside by the water. If I get depressed and I'll go outside and just, bro, I walk through the bushes.
That's your spot right
yeah,
there.
like it don't matter. I walk through the bushes. I drive downtown. I go fishing for the whole day. I don't care if I catch nothing, but I'm gonna sit out there and just try to, you know, get to a peace of mind. And just because of that, it's like we need new experiences, man. It really expands our thinking. And even if you think you exhausted all options, I bet if you go get some new experiences and then you come back to that drawing board, you're going to think of some new ways to, you know, think about stuff.
Yeah,
so.
You really snap. Before we wrap up, I want you to shine a little bit light on Irons Elite Wrestling. Tell the people what you got going on in the city.
Okay. So I started Irons Elite Wrestling Club. My main goal is really just to give back to the youth, man. It doesn't matter what color you are, how old you are. Like I start around age 6 and I still got college kids coming back. I honestly, and it's exciting. Again, I was like ripping my hair out trying to figure out how can I expand? How can I get new people to come in? And man, it kind of came to me. I was blessed with the opportunity. I just hired an Olympian on my coaching staff. And it was crazy how it worked out because the same people who I originally followed, the first 3 people that I followed, these were the people that reached out to me and said, hey, there's a guy from Cuba. And he lives in Miami. He wants to get connected to the wrestling world. Can I connect you guys? And I'm like, yeah. So, you know, we add each other on Facebook and I say, well, he's in Miami. I can't really do nothing for him. So there's like a wrestling page with thousands of people and I add them into the wrestling page and I say, here's how, you know, you can network. Couple months later, somebody else reaches out and say, hey, this guy, I know this Olympian who wants to get plugged into the wrestling world. And we start talking, same guy. And I'm like, oh, thank you, but we already spoke and I'm already talking to him and stuff. But he lives in Miami. Next thing you know, the guy reaches out to me and says, hey, I'm moving to Cape Coral. And I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like,
boots on, boy.
and I'm like, that's crazy because like I was thinking, how can I get more kids in? How can I, you know, increase the level of wrestling in this area? How can I get people who've never wrestled, you know, to wrestle? And, you know, and like, it kind of, and like, bro, and honestly, it was so tough because I'm like, and then I started thinking, I got this beautiful opportunity in my face and I started thinking, I don't have anything to offer this kid, like this guy. And I'm thinking, I don't have enough kids for him. I don't make enough money to be able to pay him. And I didn't know what I was going to do. But again, I started reaching out to all these other coaches and we came up with a game plan that benefits the both of us. So, I'm blessed to announce that, you know, 2012, 5th place at the London Games, Olympian Pedro Isaac. I just hired him on staff, and he'll be teaching every Sunday. He'll be running his own class every Sunday.
It's called Suplex Sundays?
Suplex Sundays. Yes, sir. And thank you for making my flyer as well.
Oh, yeah. But I wasn't going to tell the people, but yeah, I did it, people.
But yeah, every Sunday about 3 o'clock, he's going to be teaching like Olympic style wrestling, which is Greco-Roman. So, man, I extended the number of days that we wrestle because, I mean, unless you're on the mat, you can't really get better. So, I mean, I have a lot of stuff in the works, but I have an open door, man. If anybody ever wants to come and wrestle, come on in. You don't have to wrestle. You can sit in and see how I interact with the kids. You can sit in and see, like the intensity. So that's pretty much, we go 2 days a week, Tuesday at 7:30, Thursday at 6 o'clock. Starting June 6th, we'll be going Sundays at 3 o'clock. I offer private lessons as well. It's, you know, the best time for the client. But you guys are going to be seeing a lot more Irons Elite Wrestling shirts, jackets, hoodies, and hopefully you'll be seeing my face around, the news outlets and media outlets. So I appreciate you for the opportunity, man.
And where are you located at?
We are at 1404 Del Prado Ave, 33990 Cape Coral, Florida. The gym that I operate out of is called Cali Style MMA.
All right.
Yes,
So
sir.
Lee County, there you have it. I enjoyed this conversation with my dog Jabari.
Appreciate
I
you,
learned a
man.
lot. I hope you guys learned as much as I did. Kids, there are so many outlets out here than just basketball and football.
That's right.
You can get paid to beat somebody up. It's that real. If you want to do that, you can.
That's right.
All right, Lee County, it's been real. It's 94.9 The City, Pizzo, Ben, Well, Jabari, Irons Elite Wrestling. Appreciate you coming through, big dog.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, we out of here.
Dang, man.
Yeah, that was a conversation, right?
Yeah, that was
How you feel
good.
about it?
That was good.